All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel today. As you can see here, we have none other but the voice of karting, Xander Clements. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us today. And we're gonna grill him down. We're gonna get some information. Hopefully, learn something new. And just kind of want to share him. We are lucky enough to have him down here in Florida for SSKC. I do know he does a bunch of other events around the nation, but let me tell you something. If you don't know who he is, just wait till you hear him speak. And this is why I call him the voice of karting, and pretty much everybody here in Florida does. So, Xander, welcome. Thank you for being on the podcast today. And this is yours. So we're here to have fun. We're here to share any information you might have, and get, if there's anybody that by any chance doesn't know you, for them to know you now. So, all right.
Yeah. Thank you, Gabe. So SSKC, man, that's I feel like that's partially my baby. Eric Jones has helped me. Eric Jones launched the series, and I've been with it since day one, since we planned it. And I was actually the one that came up with the namesake for it when we were picking out names and stuff for the series for Sunshine State. So that's been so much fun. Obviously, I was in Florida when it started. I was down working as the assistant manager at AMR Motorplex for the last 3 years, up until about a year from now. Last July is when I had my last day there. So we're almost about a year out from when I was doing that. And prior to that, even a little bit during it. And then obviously a whole lot more now. I was working a different event race weekends, like different touring series, from regional races like Sunshine State to national stuff like USPKS and SCUSA, in a bunch of different forms. I've done it as an announcer. I've done it as an official. I've gone and coached or tuned at those races and club races. And I've raced in them, as much as I can try to make time for and put it all together to go and race and do a good job at. And then, so when I was working down there, I didn't do it as much, but I think on the road my last year when I was like 17, before I moved down to Homestead, I had about 32 weekends that I had on the road, which was pretty crazy. And then now I'm not at that number, but I'm close probably this year.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. I did not know you were going that much.
It was a lot, man. And it spiraled out of nowhere, really. Going back to start it. So, I grew up in Georgia. At the time, Atlanta Motorsports Park, when I was coming up, didn't really have any kids classes. It was just getting started with a lot of the older members and having to run seniors. So the only other track in the state was GSK, or Lamar County Speedway, which is down in Barnesville. It's a small little quarter-mile bull ring. It only has one right-hand turn, really. And I started racing there doing the clone class, which was the equivalent of 206. And the first race day I was there, where they ran about 10 groups. And so I think I was about 12 or 13 at the time, because we did rental karting before that, but that was the first like owner karting we jumped into, which is a whole other story. But when we got in, I realized the announcer was just this really nice guy named Bob Bartholomew, who ran 206 senior. So when he'd go run 206, there were a couple classes that didn't get called for the day. So I asked him, I was like, hey man, like I've done, sim racing. Cause at the time I was running like a couple leagues for a few years when I was like 10 or 11 with all my buddies, and would stream them and do announcing, and he let me do it. And it was really nice about it. So I would just do that in between when I'd be driving on track. And then around when I was 15, WKA came to town with the Gold Cup series. And they had a race there, and their announcer couldn't make it. And the kart shop guy nearby, who we bought our kart from, Steve Roberts, he put money on the line. He said, look, this is the guy you need to hire to announce your races. He said, I will pay his whole paycheck for this weekend if you're worried about hiring a guy without hearing from him first. But like, this is the guy. And luckily they didn't need to do that. And that worked out good. That led me to go do Daytona Kart Week, which was crazy. And I got to meet Rob Howden that week. He took over the reins from David Cole. Usually one of those two guys runs a laptop next to the announcer to do their live stream. So I got to talk with Rob, and that was a huge week. And then from there, that first year of like 2016 was like, I think that was WKA. Then by the end of the year, I started doing I got a road tax deal, and it just one thing led to another, of being nice to one guy and someone hearing me, and then, hey, can you come do this race and this race? And that was really cool. And so it just spiraled really, really fast. And it all of a sudden, by the fall semester of the next year, I was planning my college classes where I do Monday, Wednesday at night, and Tuesday, Thursday in the morning, so I could fly out to the next race Thursday and then come back Monday morning. So it's been a journey.
That's awesome.
That is a busy schedule.
Yeah, you've done some NASCAR stuff too, or some other racing, haven't you?
Dixie Vodka 400. How did that come about?
Yeah, that's so cool, man. So, Al Garcia is pretty well known in karting now for his son, Max Garcia, who is honestly doing a fantastic job. That kid is kicking butt and taking names even this year in his first year in X30 Junior. He's been really good in mini. And so, he's also the president of the Homestead Miami Speedway. So we'd work hand in hand with them when we were over at the go-kart track. They help us out a lot. They sponsor a lot of things. They do a lot to give back. It's really cool how passionate Al is. I mean, he was a racer growing up. He's worked for that track forever, back when it was originally owned by Penske, and then threw on even with the original owner, who I can't remember the name of for the life of me right now. But he's just a great guy. And Max, I always joke with him, he was like my adopted little brother. He would come over to the go-kart track and volunteer with us, the rentals or whatever. Really fun kid. And so just having a really good relationship with them, and the tracks having really good relationships together. When they got a last minute deal, like a couple weeks out, that they were going to be the first NASCAR race to have fans after the pandemic. They only had a couple weeks to book a guy. And so the Miami Heat announcer is the guy they normally bring in to do the PA work for him. And they're like, I don't know. And Al was like, look, man, I got a budget for this, and I know you're good. And now that I'm, the man in charge, because he was VP the last couple of years, would you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, of course. That sounds amazing. So luckily, again, I can't say enough good things about Eric Jones and Darren Tebby, who are my two bosses, Darren being the operations manager there, and Eric being the owner, for letting me kind of go and do that fun stuff whenever I wanted. They were so flexible with the schedule and everything. And so they let me go do that on that weekend. And yeah, it was the coolest thing ever. Like I said, I think we had a 1,000, maybe even a few more. It was all military. It was a really cool give back the Speedway did. And so I had a few PA announcements, and then they'd play MRN, the NASCAR radio guys, during it. But then when they'd go to commercial, then I would get about 3 minutes or so to kind of talk. And so
nice.
It became a game for me at some point, because obviously I was trying to have a really good, consistent read all the way through, but I would try to point out things. And then I noticed there were a few times where I pointed out something about, oh yeah, the weather's coming, or, oh, this guy's been looking really good. And then when the MRN guys come back on, they'd say the same thing, but because I said it and they didn't hear me, I said it first. So I had fun playing with that, trying to beat them to the punch, but that was really cool, man. That was an awesome experience.
Wow.
That's cool.
Is there any chance that you're going to be able to do any more NASCAR work in the future?
I'll always leave the door open. The thing I tell everyone with the announcing work is it's a lot like driving. Just like how in F1 there's only 20 seats, it's not like there's a lot of seats in announcing, and even more so nowadays that they pull a lot of former drivers to become analysts and into the booth. And I mean, I understand it. They bring a lot of fans with them. They have a huge brand name. So, when you look at it, there's not a lot of opportunities with it. I always keep the door open with what I'm doing, and just try to be nice to everyone, because you never know who's the guy that can make something happen for you, and push on it where I can, but I don't bank on it. So if that stuff comes up, man, I'll absolutely jump at it. Wherever it is, whether it's PA work, whether it's doing, short track racing or whatever. I think that stuff's the coolest thing. And there was I remember exactly one moment. I think it was one moment under caution or something. And it was one of the times when I filmed myself, and I didn't think anything in the moment, because when I'm announcing, you just kind of go. But when I looked back at the video that I posted, I was just hearing myself say these NASCAR names, Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin and so on and so forth. And I'm like, man, I'm really announcing a cup race right now. That's crazy. So yeah, that was I'm always open to do that stuff, man. That was really cool. And I think, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So NASCAR, come on, don't fall behind. You guys are trying to be hip and cool and have all the new cars, car tomorrow. This is your guy. This is your guy. So he
the
brings
voice
his
of
own
today.
fan base.
Yeah, the voice of today.
Yeah, there you go. So it's not the voice of karting anymore. That's a good one, or he's the voice of today. So I can tell you a story about myself when it comes to karting, and I thought it was just me in the kart, when we're out there, and just in the last race, I think it was Jeff that made a comment that he made a pass, and it was Heath. He makes a pass and he goes I wonder if Xander announced my name when I made the pass. And it's funny because we race in the 206 heavy class, which realistically we're some of the oldest guys on the grid other than Shifter Master, right? And it's kind of odd because we're all be on grid, and then it's kind of like an unspoken thing. We're all like, well, I hope Xander says my name during the race. So I'm telling you guys, if you ever have the experience to go to a race that he's announcing, even if you're not driving, just to go for a few hours, just to listen to him announce, it's truly incredible.
Yeah, it's an awesome. It's crazy. I think one of the first times I met you, I think it was Homesteader. I can't remember what event. I just remember I was like, man, that guy is really good. And then I'm walking around. They're like, hey, that's the guy announcing. And I look over. And I'm like trying to find a guy, and it was like Xander walking by. I was like, there's no freaking way that kid has a radio voice. There's no freaking. And then when I heard you talk, I was like, holy shit, that's him. Holy crap, man! I would have never seen that. Jesus, it's like, man. You have like this old like 1920s, 1930s radio voice. And then your face and body doesn't fit the voice. I think that's what makes it better.
Yeah, but now he's been working out, so I think that's why he's at the gym now. So I saw him.
I've been trying to put on a little bit. I can't be out here being like bodybuilder Jorge. Lifting like 500 pounds and everything.
Don't let it get out of control because you'll be running super heavy.
Yeah, then you'll be 20 pounds overweight.
But no, I'm like I told you, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting it. I've been consistent. I wanted to be a little bit bigger because I've always been super skinny, super small. I got tall after puberty, but I never really was able to put on too many pounds. And then this year I was working really hard at it, trying to make sure I was having a caloric surplus and getting to the gym every day. And it's tough when you're traveling because like you get thrown out of rhythm really quickly. Especially some of these race weekends are really draining when you're out in the heat, if you're officiating, you're out there like the whole day. That's probably one of the hardest jobs, officiating or corner marshaling, just where you've got like such a short break that normally gets cut because you end up running a little bit behind for lunch. And you're out in the heat. Maybe you get shade, maybe you don't, but it's like nonstop and you got to be there mentally too. So it's tough to stay at it, but yeah, I think I was on the scale yesterday. I'm about 12 pounds now. So I'm pretty stoked about that. And,
keep going.
We're making some progress. Slowly but surely.
I mean, I gained 12 pounds from burgers and pasta and everything in between, but it's 12 pounds.
Oh man.
Now, what can we talk a little bit about Kart Chaser?
Yeah.
Talk to us. What is it? Why did you start it? Where is it going? How can we help?
Yeah. So it's a long story, right? So when the last bit that I was at Homestead, we were kind of debating plans, me and Eric, of what we wanted to do next and what I wanted to do next personally. The idea for me there, I was never going to be there for a long, long time. The goal was to be there for 2 to 3 years. And if we had a new opportunity with the company and with his vision where he was going to grow, that would be like, I could go down there, train under Darren, kind of learn from him as like a mentor. And then when I kind of learned a lot of that, then we could move on to the next project and I could kind of move up into a higher position. And as we kind of looked at it, we're like, I don't know if we're in that place right now. And then for me, it was a lot of soul searching. I was like, well, like, what do I really want to do? Do I want to kind of hang here for a little while longer? I had my bachelor's, I could go back for an MBA. I did it in finance and I had a little internship with venture funding. That was really cool, where you get to see a bunch of different business proposals and you kind of help fine tune them to go to either banks to get loans or to go to investors. So I was like, I could go get out of working in racing and just make it my hobby. But I realized that no matter what, I would keep thinking about it, 24/7 and want to do things to it. And so the third option, which I really wanted to do, was like, all right, what are my real 2 goals here? And I mentioned that, and so this is Kart Chaser is the beginning of the foundation of what's hopefully going to be a long, successful journey on building to these 2 goals. And that's, number one, I tell everyone that talks to me, both budget wise and honestly with where we were at, and what we knew about mechanicking and karting and racing in general, which really was nothing coming in. I should have been a local 206 driver, and I think we would have been really happy with that, racing 206, maybe going to KA eventually at my local track with like 15 or 20 guys. But at Barnesville, the club numbers died off at the end of the first year that I was there. I think we had about 12 kids in the junior class when I started, and by the end of year 1, we were down to 4 or 3. And so at that point, there was no regional series in the Southeast. It was just, we had to start running nationals. And so we would do, instead of running, like everybody runs normally, hopefully 10 or 15 races a year, we'd run 3. and like, 100cc Yamaha Junior, whatever, no testing. We maybe got one test day, we go practice, but it was like, all right, instead of our budget being a couple grand or a little more, we could do a whole season of club racing or a season and then some regional races. We had to do just a couple national weekends. So I want to build, the first goal is I want to build, I want to help the sport where we have like local communities for that, like every single club be in really healthy numbers, because, frankly, there's still a lot of people like me that are trying to kind of outspend themselves. And I think would be really happy if they did have a club to go home to, but they don't. I think a kid kart parents that want to run kid karts at bigger series are a prime example of that. Like, I don't think a kid kart family, if they were like, hey, do you want to go race? You want your 5-year-old to learn about racing against 20 other 5-year-olds, at your local track 20 minutes away every month? Or do you want to drive 12 hours across the country for him to just hold the gas down, but you look at where these kid karts come from and they don't have a club at home. So I want every kid to have a club at home, because I've seen some of my friends across the country that I've met through racing that did have a really good club, and they made, lifelong friendships just from racing through there, that mine were only online or distant. And I would have loved to have them. And the second goal that I want to work on is I think karting's on-track product is entertaining enough that it could be a really good standalone side discipline in motorsport. And I think a prime example of that is, just the cost is so much lower, and, Kart Chaser covers the national races. And even with no fans right now, really, and a very small base to sell to, we still have a handful of guys that are talented enough and can pull manufacturer money and some team money that can get sponsored, right? Around my age or a little above, to go run senior, go run shifter. You have your AJ Myers, your Norbergs, your Brandon Jarchicracks, et cetera. So in theory, if we can make the sport a little bigger, if we can promote that stuff a little better, then there'll be even more opportunities for the kid that turns 15 or 16, or anyone that wants to get into racing and is like, well, I don't have the $20 million to climb the NASCAR ladder or go to F1. But I could maybe race go-karts for a little bit, just like a lot of guys are able to, race dirt cars. It's a lot cheaper, and the motocross ladder, it doesn't cost nearly as much to go up to NASCAR. It still costs a good bit to chase the amateur motocross game, but that's where I think we could be. And so I was like, all right, if I want to create kind of a nice kind of pro avenue for the, guys moving up when they realize they don't have the money to do car stuff. And I want to build up the local scene for a lot of club guys. And so looking back, like I said, what was the first thing that I could do with the money I have right now? And that was to start promoting the pro stuff better, because I think that if we want to generate eventually like a series, which is the end goal, like a Supercross, where the events are more fan oriented, if you think I would think like, we can't really do it in a stadium, but we could definitely do like a Supernats type deal in a parking lot. And then you bring in more fans, you bring in, elevated like 20 by 20 VIP tents that you could sell as suites and so on. And I have a lot of ideas. I think that I would like to do that. And I think to get to that point where we could fill up a big place with ticket sales, we got to build up our stars first. Mm-hmm. And so that's the idea with Kart Chasers. And I tell the guys all the time, each of the drivers we work with in senior and in shifters, like, hey, like the goal of what we're doing is not to tear you down. If you get, in a screaming match with someone at the scales, or you look bad, like I'm not trying to promote that or promote up the drama yet. I would if you were making thousands of dollars, but you're not yet. What I'm trying to do is build up your character and make you all individual and show everyone your personality, so guys can pick someone to root for, and get invested. It's no different than building TV characters in a series, or Street Outlaw. Just like how in wrestling, yep. Your wife does. They've got to build up, the hype around someone before they can really be a superstar to be an A-lister and top of the card. So that first, and then I've got some kind of other creative stuff along the way as hopefully this kind of matures and gets going, that hopefully I can do some projects that really help the local scene too. Because even if we do a great job promoting and getting more exposure for the sport on the national level with promoting the national races, when guys see those videos and they go to their local track and we aren't capturing them well, or we're not doing a good job running the club races or getting them with a really good kart shop to get started, it's worthless. We're both kind of being the exposure, and then we've got to help capture them too. So that's the underlying kind of long journey we're working on. And right now we've got, obviously the feature videos, we're doing at every race, every major race we're trying to go to. We've still got the CKNA 206 Grands coming up. USPKS coming up, has 2 more races this year. Scusa's got 2 more races, and then Rock's got their Vegas race as well. So we'll be at all those. And then starting tomorrow, we've got our weekly talk show Happy Hour that we're going to be launching, which will be cool. So we'll have a main cast of a handful of senior drivers, And then we'll also be bringing on guests throughout the season, from team owners to other drivers, to anyone else who'd want to be on it, that I think would be really cool, and try to get them to talk about stuff they can talk about that their hands aren't tied on. Cause that's the tough part for me with podcasts and with interviews and with what I talk to everyone about, is like, I want to make sure that you're able to speak freely on this subject. I can't go to Eric and say, Eric, Eric Jones, what do you think about your Miami product? And what do you think about rock? Like, you can't, it's his business.
Yeah.
But I can go to Eric and I could say, hey man, what was your NASCAR days like? Because, not a lot of people know Eric climbed the NASCAR ladder in the 90s and got pretty high up. If he would have been picked up by a better team, or he thinks if he would have switched to open wheel, which I agree, he probably would be in the place of Ryan Hunter-Reay right now, because he was quicker than him on the same ladder. He's a super talented driver. So I'd love to talk to him about stories like that and stuff where guys can really be, have some interesting stuff. So hopefully that'll be starting and be successful tomorrow, and so on weekly. And yeah, that's a long-winded answer, but that's a little bit of everything of kind of what I've got and what I'm hopefully working on nowadays.
Exactly. And that's why we're here, right? So we realized that doing this originally we had 2 vlog channels, right? And then we realized that great, one's good, they're both good, they're both getting followers almost at the same rate, but we wanted to separate things a little bit, right? And still be within ourselves. And then the idea came up of doing a podcast, which it's great, it's a little bit different, and then it's kind of also evolved to where I feel like it's because of tracks closing and teams that, even compared to last year and this year, there's some teams at SSKC that are not there, right? Some of that is just from attrition and Corona and whatever it might be. So I think it's important, and I keep saying it, it's our job as us that are, I don't want to say in the media, but we keep pushing these agendas and tell people to come to the track and buy go-karts and that. It's our job to do everything we can with something as simple as making a vlog or doing a podcast like this and help each other, right? So Kart Chaser is the brand, and it's my responsibility to make sure that everybody knows that it's there and that it is around, and try to help anybody in the karting community. So I know that you're an open book, and so am I. So if anybody needs anything, don't hesitate, reach out. Jorge is more than a plethora of 206 experience. He will give you setup, tire pressure, gearing, engine, flow, whatever 206 event you want to go to, he will give it to you and he'll have you ready to go, because we want the fields to grow. We want the sport to grow, just like everybody. So, and we understand how hard it is. So we thank you and everybody from the Kart Chaser team to taking the time and doing, and I don't know, Ryan, myself, Norberg, but some of his videos, some of his stuff that he puts out is really, really good. So
I watch it too.
It's awesome. We watch it. We're subscribed. So
I'm a secret fanboy.
Yeah.
I watch this stuff. I'm like, maybe I can do some of this stuff. And then I try, I'm like, I ran out of talent.
I run out of talent all the time.
Oh, man.
Now, with that said, there is some guys out there that are trying to get a goal across here pretty soon. And it's not LO206, but it's in the Tillotson class. So MBD Motorsports has a team owned by Neil, and they're trying to send a group of drivers to Ireland, if that's correct. I think it's September.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking for help. So we all know how expensive karting can be. So if there's anybody out there that's willing to help the team, please look up NBD Motorsports, look for Neil. I know one of the drivers is Colin Warren, which arguably he might be the best, if not one of the best 4-stroke drivers in the nation. There's no doubt about that. Hopefully I can get all the top 4-stroke drivers here soon and watch them battle it out on the channel. That'll be great. But yeah, they are looking for help, and if anybody can, please, I'm gonna also put their link at the bottom. If anybody can help them, reach out. They're looking for sponsors, looking for anyone that can help out. So now, Xander, so you've raced 206 before, right?
I have, yeah.
So when are you making a comeback?
That's actually, if you want some breaking news here, I am. So I've been talking with Briggs. We started a relationship back with the CKNA Spring Nets back in Charlotte, and I was talking to them and I pitched them this idea. I was like, hey man, like I'd really, Briggs is about, race it anywhere, right out of the box, wherever you want to go in the country, right? And so I was like, hey, what do you think about if we did like a video series next year, like 10 or 12 club races where I go, we'll vlog it, and I'll do a stop at like one track and one shop that I know. all around the country, part of the Briggs Weekly Racing Series promotion. So it's something I'm working on and putting together, and I'm just starting to reach out to a few shops and a few tracks now to kind of make it all work. But I got the green light from Briggs, and so it's something we're going to be partnering up on. And I'm really excited about it because I get to race again. I haven't raced. I did a couple club races at the end of fall last year. Really, my last full national season was in 2019. That was the last time I was really actively in the seat, which was X30 senior. But the Briggs stuff will be, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a lot of fun because those are, especially doing club races, it'll be like laid back. There won't be the extra stress. And, you have to be in really good physical shape to run at the top, at the front of the X30 and shifter classes. So when you run the Briggs stuff and it slows down a little bit, it's not as hard on your body. I think that'll be fun. So I'm going to be doing quite a bit of Briggs racing next year. I don't know if I'll do any this year. I might do 1 or 2 to try it out, but, and then I have one myself. I used it just to play down in Homestead, and I've converted it, and I've got it back in Atlanta now with my old team, DCT Speed Sport, for some of my little brothers to go do some club races at Atlanta Motorsports Park. But I might hop in the seat a little bit there too.
Nice. Good to hear.
There you have it. So can you make heavy? That's the question.
That's the big question, man. I don't know. I don't know.
Stay away from us.
There's well, based on what I see, I kind of do want to stay away. It is a little bit scary watching you guys sometimes, but
that video will drop today. It is not good.
It's wild, man. But it's hey, but it was cool. It was so cool to see 20. I think we had 23 by Sunday. 'Cause we had 21, and then we had 2 more guys show up from Homestead to race just Sunday alone, the Alizos. So that's awesome, man, to see those kinds of numbers. I don't care what class it is. When you get a full grid, it's really cool. So I think I can make it work though, because little Annie Rule is she's like, I think she's like maybe 15 or 16 now, but she runs shifter, and they have to run tungsten, and they've got still the back of the seat like full, because she's, I don't know, probably not even 100 pounds, and races shifter. She's tiny, but hey, if she can make shifter weight, I think at 160, 165 pounds, I could find enough lead to hit heavy.
Oh yeah,
it'll be fun lifting the car.
165, you're already there.
Yeah, you're close.
Yeah, you're close. It's funny because every time you go to the Grands, you see the same drivers that go from the light class to the medium class to the heavy class. So they literally get off the cart and next, and then as you watch their go-karts progress, it's like 1 or 2 plates, then 4 or 5, and then you see stacks of plates behind the seats. And they make it work. They're fast in all the classes. So it's definitely doable, and we look forward to seeing you on track. Good luck in the heavy class. We are we are a bit reckless for some reason. I don't understand why, but it happens. That's part of karting. I think it's because you have a bunch of like old guys that are just like, whatever. What's the worst thing? What's the worst thing?
Yeah, well,
happen, so.
The old dogs can't learn new tricks, right? Everyone like has run there, even if they're newer guys. It's so much easier for me to go tell a micro or mini driver, hey, do this, don't do this, and I can get the whole field under the same code of conduct of how they race. You try telling that to an adult, and I don't care how long they've been racing. No, I know more than you. I've watched racing, or I've seen this. I'm going to drive this way, and then you get 2 guys that have differing views. And that means neither one's going to back out, and then they wreck. So it's so hard to get them to line. We see the Facebook threads almost every year, especially from Anderson, because Anderson's such a tight track. It's so narrow. I think it races really good. Eric and I love watching the racing there, but you are on top of each other. And then in general too, the faster you go, the more the lap times get spread out, right? Where a 2/10 difference might make the difference in Briggs. Those 2/10, if you take those same 2 drivers, that one's about 2/10 slower than a Briggs, he's going to be about probably 3 or 4/10 slower in a KA, about maybe 5 or 6/10 slower than the fast guy in an X30. He might be a whole second slower in a shifter. So when you close that gap of what the driver can do, you just make guys more and more on top of each other. It makes it fun because you're almost always in a battle versus maybe, at some of the smaller races, you'll see the X30 class get strung out because there's not as many guys on the same level, yeah, I just think it's just a perfect storm where you've got a lot of hard-headed old dudes that really want to believe what they want to believe and race what they want to race and take. And then you've got a class that just, puts you right on top of each other with how level the motors are. And just, again, it's not a big gap start to finish just because it's a little bit lower horsepower.
Yeah. The competition this year was so tight. I think 42 flat was like fast time. And then 15th was 42.8. So you have 8 tenths covering the top 15. And then if you get a draft, you can't run away from anybody. So you're on top of each other the whole race. And nobody's giving you an inch. Nobody's giving you an inch. I was smart. I pointed people by because I was having an inch. I was like, don't run me over, please. And my teammates still smashed me.
I did see that. I was like,
Senior,
my goodness.
I can't believe Senior hit me.
Oh man, dude, me and I mean, we knew who it was, but Eric Lador, he's like, that's gonna be a fun conversation in the 10 after this one. And I was like, yeah, probably the scale line before they even get back there.
We had an interesting weekend overall. I don't want to say that it was hard, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all karting, right? Like we're all there for fun. Maybe don't say that around Heath, but we're all there for fun. But it wasn't hard. It was just challenging, right? Because it's like we'd go out, we'd make a change, and we're used to making changes, and then all of a sudden, somewhere between practice and middle of the pre-final, we're like, aha, we got it, and then we're good to go. But this weekend, I mean, we had 2 full days of just, like for myself, I put my lap times were there, but I found a video of what happened on the pre-final. So yes, old men are stubborn. But yeah, somebody else can cost you your whole race. So, and in 206, that's it. It's done. And when you start 23rd you start 23rd out of 23 carts in a final on a Sunday, that's not a lot of time to get to the front, especially with a little bit of rain, which was a little bit controversial. Who made the call on Sunday to pull the drivers off the track?
So that was, that's per the rule book. So we've been pulling block. So this year we switched over to the USPKS rule book from WK. And that's the fine line all regional series kind of have to walk, is it's like it's the where the club racing and national racing meet, right? In national racing, you have the mentality of like, you should know better, we're going to be harder on you, there's no like warnings and stuff, you just get penalty, and you get it, if you show up, if you don't fit their box, you're done. And then at the club racing, you're trying to take care of everybody, and a lot of people don't know. So you're, at the regional level, you've got this mix of 2 kind of ideologies. You try and like, all right, I want to be nice to these people, I want to make it a good experience. This is probably their first level up, might be within their first 2 years or first year of racing. At the same time, we've got 23 guys, there is some decent prizes on the line between the free entry for next year. For some of the classes, they've got tickets over to world finals. Between Tillotson and the Miami classes, they've got tickets over to, those are thousands of dollars, in value. So that rule book that we switched over to from WK leaves almost everything up to race director discretion, which I think sucks. And that's why, my driver's meetings, I try to be as black and white of how we're going to call the race. Now we don't have to agree with it. You don't have to race that way if you don't want to, but this is how we will call. So, it's not like, or some driver's meetings that I've been to where it's like, I want you guys to, be safe to each other, be nice, be clean, have a good race. It's like, well, what do you mean by that? What is a good race? For a lot of people, they don't know, at least, what that guy wants of a good race. So, the USPKS rulebook is a little more defined on what they want you to do. And one rule in there straight up says that they black flag all lap traffic. Now, what became an anomaly and kind of weird about it was that we had, guys on slicks and guys on reins. And there's no exception where it says, hey, in this case, it's going to be different. Obviously, in normal cases, you maybe get 1 or 2 stragglers, and instead of blue flagging them and having them potentially wreck the outcome of the race, we black flag them. And I was happy to go to that rule this year as a blanket rule for all classes, because last year in the micro class, not once but twice, a lapped kid had been given the blue flag, didn't know what it meant, and cleaned out one of the leaders or the whole lead pack. And that was not a fun conversation to have with those parents at all, especially one time I was in a main event. So, and it wasn't like intentional. The kid just was like, didn't know people around him, and the kid goes around the outside and, gets pegged in the left rear. So I was like, you know what? I'd rather have a conversation with a parent saying, hey, I know you got spun early, or, hey, I'm sorry you guys were a little off and you didn't get to finish your race. You're not DQ'd, your points are full, but listen, I hope that one day, me to this new parent, 2 years or a year down the line, when you are battling for your first race win, I'm not having the same conversation with you apologizing for a lapper. You're paving the way for when you get in that spot, you'd want to have a clean race, unadulterated, unaffected by lap traffic. So it made it really weird and odd with obviously the rain deal. But that's the way we were calling it all weekend. And we just, again, with Briggs, the class was tighter. We didn't really have any guys that really off pace. Nobody really got spun and kept going where they were nearly on the edge of going a lap down. So that was the first time the Briggs heavy guys saw it. But that was something we were doing all weekend. And that's, again, like I tell everyone, we're always open to feedback and changing that stuff. And I'd be open to maybe even going like, hey, and this is just me talking, not the series, maybe going like black flag only, lap traffic for like the kids classes, but then in the adults, if you want to do blue flags, because the adults will know what a blue flag means, we could do blue flags in the senior classes, because the big problem was that guys would see the blue flag, the kids anyway, and they wouldn't change anything. And sometimes they don't even change anything when the black flag comes out. And then you feel really bad because then you were trying to clear the way and it didn't get cleared. So that's the reason why that all went down. It just became really weird with half the class on slicks being seconds off,
Yeah. It was funny because since I broke down lap 2, because I have excellent luck this year, some of the flags are waved like right at where the slicks and wet got it. So a couple of guys got confused and they drove in. So
there was one guy. The one SLA kart racing guy drove in early.
He drove in. I was like, man.
Yeah.
I was like, right, running 5th. There you go.
Yeah, that was not good, man. They were not happy. And it's, a lot. And then like a couple guys, like we flagged them and they didn't see it the first time. But the closing rate was so fast. Then they got lapped and then they got black flagged. And they thought, well, why black flag me? I'm already a lap down. There's no need for it. The whole point's to clear the way. And I'm like, we did. You didn't see it the first time.
Yeah,
but
it was confusing. It was confusing.
It's tough. And two, they normally have a number board. The rain made the number board wet, so then they couldn't write on the number board.
Yeah.
So that didn't help them either. So I like the number boards where it's like all 10 numbers and you just flip them.
Yeah. Yep. I think that
then that's unaffected. But it was just something we didn't expect to encounter. It's a short track, man. We go to Newcastle like that, and that would have never happened.
No.
So
I mean, you were running 40 seconds. Newcastle were running a minute 14.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
It's and again, it goes back to the weekend. It wasn't a bad weekend. It was just hard, and a lot of us saw some new things. And but I guess that's what it's all about, right? So I could have told you going into the weekend, I thought that the top 3 of both days were going to be a lot different, or the top 5 of both days were going to be a lot different. So that's what makes this year interesting, especially for the heavy class. But those guys are seniors right now. That senior final was no joke.
Oh, yeah.
That was
awesome.
A good
race.
That was awesome a really good race. And I only got to see about half of it because we were doing protests. But every time I looked over, it's like a 4-cart pack between Jed and Hunter and Colin and Dylan. And, man, or not Colin, sorry, but Dylan and who else was the 4th guy up there in that pack? I'm trying to remember.
There's Hunter.
But he was in seniors last year. I cannot remember his name.
Who?
He's in juniors. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's Shay. Shay was up
there.
Yeah,
Shay was right up there. Right.
Yeah.
That was a really good race. Yeah, all the way to the end, man. And I mean, that was like, and no feelings were hurt. Like they came off and it helped that all 4 of them were kind of buddies as well, but they came off, shook hands. It was like, it was a good race. Even Hunter kind of got the short end of the stick getting shuffled off there, but he's like, hey man, I went for it, tried it, didn't pay off. So that was cool.
Yeah. It was a good one.
All right, guys. So, thank you, Xander, for coming aboard. Jorge, thank you as always. I'm going to go ahead at the link at the bottom. I'm going to have the Kart Chaser YouTube page down there, as always, the Jam page, and MBD Motorsports on Facebook. Guys, reach out to Neil. Any help would help. Let's get that cup back here to the United States. Show those Irish guys what the 4-stroke community here can do. And again, anything from you guys in closing?
No, I'm good. Just catch you guys on track.
Yeah, nothing much for me, man. Just thanks again for the love for both of you guys. I'm gonna be struggling to fit my head into the helmet after all the compliments you guys keep giving me. So, but yeah, no, you guys are doing some really cool work with this stuff. Gabe, like I said, I jumped at the opportunity to text you to get on here. I think it's really cool. And, I tell everyone, like, what we're trying to do with Kart Chaser is just to not step on anyone's toes and add more media. And that's what the sport needs, is more stuff. So the more we got stuff like this, everything, it's really cool. So thanks again for having me on. And it's been a blast. See you guys soon.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for following along. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button at the bottom. Don't forget to share. And We'll catch you guys later.